Hi, everybody. I'm Kurt Gowdy of NBC Sports to call the play-by-play. My television partner, Tony Kubek, will be analyzing the game, and roaming the stands will be our man, Lindsey Nelson, bringing you between innings and half-innings reports. And here in the home ballpark of the American League Tiger Stadium, it is hot and it is very windy. The wind is going to be a big factor in tonight's game. It's blowing from home plate to right field at 30 miles an hour.
Hey, baseball fan, time for a little self-care and a few minutes of cardboard meditation. Welcome to the show that features some of baseball's oddest stories and the cardboard slabs that document them. Find peace and joy through baseball cards with your host, the big guy.
Okay, I suspect that you have a very special baseball game. Let me just get my coffee real quick. Thank you. And that special game could be your very first game you went to at the ballpark. Perhaps it was a very first World Series you attended, or maybe it was a special game you saw on TV, or perhaps even a game that your favorite ball player played his first rookie game on, and you got a chance to see that. And I'm sure that nostalgia just floods back every time you reminisce about it. Well, my game like that was the 1971 All-Star Game in Detroit, Michigan. Now, to some fans, that was just a pretty good ball game. But to me, it was a show. It was an extravaganza. And it's remembered as being one of the best, if not the best, All-Star game ever played. And here's the reason why. It's full of great ball players from that era. You could say that about any All-Star game, but these were the big boys. These were the Mays, the Aaron, the Clemente, the Bob Gibsons, all these guys. They were all represented in that 1971 All-Star game. Now, you're collecting their cards, but imagine them all being in the one stadium at the same time. And imagine what they could do, and they did do exactly what you thought. So one of the things that I really remember the most about that was Kurt Gowdy and Tony Kubek talking about my home state, my home players, and he was right down the road from me. And it was just the coolest thing because we were never special. We never got any mentions on the air anywhere, but we did that night. And Robert Taylor, radio star in Detroit, he belted out the national anthem that day, which was pretty cool because when we would go to games, he was also singing the national anthem there. Didn't have to go to school, didn't have to get up in the morning. It was mythic, it was legendary, and it was iconic. And that's one of the reasons why this was one of the great games. And we'll go over some things here in just a minute that makes it probably a little more true to form when you get a chance to hear the events that occurred and see the cards from that year. I got the starting lineup all from 1971 that I'm going to show you. And I'll have the card numbers underneath there, so if you want to go look for those and perhaps purchase them for your legacy collection, you can do that. 53,559 fans were at the game. That's 58 million people watching the game on TV, and I was one of them. And I just lived an hour and 45 minutes down the street. I was an 11-year-old boy, and I about lost my mind when my dad told me that the All-Star game was coming to the Motor City. I went crazy. I cut out all the newspaper clippings and put them in my scrapbook that my mom got me. See? I told you, little rabid fan. Somewhere around here I've got the actual program from that game. I even have a ticket. Now, I didn't go. I purchased these much later, but the game meant that much to me that I have to add this to my collection. So it really helped me develop my love for the game. And that's why I said at the very beginning that I know that you probably have a game like that too. Also really helped me hone my love for baseball cards because I really got my cards out that night and just thumbed through them while watching the game because I was so excited trying to match up the players with those that were batting. Now, before we get into the lineup, I want to go over some of the guys that aren't in the lineup. Some of these guys might just blow your mind. Roberto Clemente, not a starter. Pete Rose did not start. Lou Brock, Al Kaline, Thurman Munson, none of those guys started. Juan Marichal, Steve Carlton, Jim Palmer, there was a lot of other ones that didn't start as pitchers. So a lot of the great ball players are on the bench. Imagine that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this right now. And so get ready. I'm not going to do the announcer voice, but we'll just do the game here, okay? Starting at catcher for the National League, Johnny Bench, and for the American League, Ray Fosse. Now, Ray Fosse was injured, so hometown favorite Bill Freehand took the task. A similar move was made at first base, and I had no problem with it. Okay, here are the starters at first. Willie McCovey and Boog Powell. Again, Boog was injured, and the powers that be placed our hometown favorite first baseman Norm Cash at the bag. I couldn't have been happier. Sorry, Boog. Second base, the National League sent the slick-fielding Glenn Beckert to play second base, and the American League sent future Hall of Famer Rod Carew from the Twins to play second. Bud Harrelson patrolled the middle infield at shortstop for the National League, and I love this card. I love it. In fact, 1971 was the first year that Topps used a lot of these in-action shots for the picks on their cards. And I could go and show you a whole lot of other ones, but if you really want to take a look at one that's really magnificent, look at the Bob Gibson card from 1971. It was something you hadn't seen before that year. Everything else was like close-ups and bust shots of Bob, but not this one. This one's pretty incredible. Okay, and right there on the back of that picture that's got who's watching the play there with Harrelson, that's Nolan Ryan. Okay, for the American League, the great Louis Aparicio. I hate the fact that Topps didn't include his team insignia on the hat. I suppose it could be worse. They could have airbrushed a Boston insignia on it. I hate airbrushing even more. You'll notice that a lot of the cards you see here are high numbers and semi-highs. I'm sure that wasn't done on purpose. Topps couldn't have known who was going to be starting the All-Star game. And putting your best players late in the series, I guess, might make them more desirable to kids late in the season, when they started looking at other things like football cards and school books and other distractions. Well, okay, back to the lineup. Third base, All-Stars include the great Joe Torre, who was a great player. In fact, he was the NL MVP this year, 1971. And the legendary Brooks Robinson. And like I said before, Topps was using a lot more in-action shots. And Torre's photo is amazing. Brooks, not so much. Looks like he just struck out. Love that guy, though. The outfield positions look like the outfield department at the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. In left field, the National League sent Willie Stargell, and the American League sent Carl Yastrzemski. In center field, the late, great Willie Mays. I remember a lot of signage in the stands for Willie during the game because he didn't make it to the Motor City to play, so fans showed their love that day. Also, the Twins outfielder Tony Oliva, who was starting to show off his Hall of Fame talents right about that time. However, Tony was injured, so Yankee great Bobby Mercer took his spot. Now, in right field, the National League sent Hank Aaron to patrol Kaline's corner, along with Frank Robinson for the American League. Now, the pitchers included Doc Ellis for the National League and Vida Blue for the American League. I always loved that card when I was a kid, Vida Blue's card here. It looked like he was saying hi to the camera. And as only an 11-year-old boy could think, I always wondered why other players didn't do that too. All right, managers for the Nationals was the great Sparky Anderson. And little did he know that he'd be back in a decade or so to lead the Tigers to a World Series right there in that stadium. And the American League sent the World Series champs manager, Baltimore Orioles, Earl Weaver. Now, here are some facts about the 1971 game that just are amazing to me and also make the game special, like I said at the very beginning of this show. There were 6 home runs hit, and that tied the record set just 20 years before, 1951. And where was that set? Well, right there at the corner of Michigan and Trumbull in Detroit. Yeah, it was called Briggs Stadium then. Players that hit round trippers were Johnny Bench, Hank Aaron, Frank Robinson, Harmon Killebrew, Roberto Clemente, who did it off his front foot. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I didn't put any of the footage on this show because I didn't want to get a copyright infringement there. But if you go to YouTube and just go ahead and search for the 71 World Series, 71 All-Star Game, and watch the Clemente at bat when he hit the home run, you'll be amazed. He just pushed that ball straight up and straight out of that stadium. But one of the most mammoth home runs ever hit at Tiger Stadium, let alone the All-Star game, had to be a 2-run homer that Reggie Jackson delivered off the light tower on top of the center field roof. That's 520 feet. It's still part of Tiger Stadium lore. All the stars that were known for hitting did so. All the pitchers that were known for pitching did so. It's legendary, iconic, mythical. That's why it's remembered as being one of the best All-Star games ever. In fact, all of the scoring came by the home run. All 6 home runs hit in the game, and all the runs scored were by future Hall of Fame players. Oh, and here's a stat for you. The 6 players that hit home runs that night went on to finish their careers with a combined 3,106 home runs. That's a lot of dingers. It was the second All-Star game played at night, the first primetime in American League Park, and the last at Tiger Stadium. Okay, so this was also the first time both starting pitchers were African Americans. It was Roberto Clemente's last All-Star game. He was selected in '72 but was injured and then died about 6 months later in a plane crash while putting together a humanitarian mission to help the earthquake survivors in Nicaragua. Frank Robinson became the first player to hit a home run while playing for the National League and to hit one while playing for the American League. And Mickey Lolich, our hometown favorite, got the save. That was the first time ever the All-Star game gave a save to a pitcher who did just that. Now, Mickey Lolich, as an All-Star, you might think, was he one of the guys that, was he in the shadow of these guys? No. Mickey Lolich worked 376 innings that year, over 45 starts, and that's more than any other pitcher had worked since 1916. That's why we love Mickey Lolich here. There were 15 Hall of Famers playing for the National League, and the American League had 11. 53,559 were at the game. 58 million people watched the game on TV, and I was one of them, although I just lived an hour and 45 minutes down the street. And here's a little tidbit. Bench and Yaz played the entire game. All right, thanks for watching me, and tune in tomorrow because I'm going to take a look at the baseball All-Stars with the most All-Star appearances. Admit it. You found a little joy and a peaceful, easy feeling while looking at these baseball cards, didn't you? Yeah, baseball cards can do that. Talk soon. See you tomorrow.
Cardboard meditation helps set your mind right. Thank you for watching. Show us your appreciation by clicking the like and subscribe button. Ring the bell while you're at it so you'll know when we upload a new story.